Hey guys, Shaky Maine, aka Deboo, Deboo.com with the Deboo.com Surf Forecast Update. This forecast update effective around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, December 15th, 2014. And guys, here's a look at the upcoming forecast with another possible major swell event setting up for the Northwest Atlantic. It looks like a massive west-northwest swell is going to be developing out in the North Pacific. We'll show you that in just a few moments, but there can be no doubt that this part of the Northern Hemisphere is in an active phase. Start you off here off the east coast of the United States in an area of low pressure now that's back over the Northwest Atlantic. Now, this area of low pressure was partially responsible for that major swell event that we had last week. If you remember, we started the forecast with an area of low pressure trying to develop north of Puerto Rico. That indeed did develop and started to lift off towards the north, started some pre-northeast groundswell heading for the U.S. coast, and then we had this other area of low pressure develop off the southeast U.S. coast and then amplify that northeast fetch, leading to that last major swell event. In fact, it was a double major swell event with seas in excess of 30 feet off the southeast U.S. coast and the other area of low pressure that was north of Puerto Rico as it lifted off towards the north. It indeed did produce seas in excess of 25 to 30 feet. Now, this area of low pressure is going to continue to drift off towards the east. It is producing some north-northwest, west-northwest flow in here. So this is going to, again, at least get the ocean moving. This is more for Hispaniola and Puerto Rico at the moment. Now, here's this other area of low pressure over the central United States. This was over in the East Pacific several days ago and moved onshore. Models in previous runs had this low tracking a little bit further south into the Gulf states and then towards the mid-Atlantic. And as the week progressed last week, they started to notch it more to the north. This area of low pressure forecast to lift off towards the north-northeast and get over northwest Atlantic waters in about 3 to 4 days, basically replacing this area of low pressure off the northeast U.S. coast at the moment. So this will also help enhance what north-northwest swell is created by this area of low pressure currently off the northeast United States. Moving you over towards the East Pacific. And here, guys, is the area that we're going to be watching over the next 3 to 4 days as a possible major swell event over in the Northwest Atlantic. Just like this area of low pressure now that's over the central United States was over here in the East Pacific several days ago, we now have this area right in here, and the jet is lifting from the southwest up to the northeast in here. And there's a strong flow. We're going to be watching for an area of low pressure to move onshore. And it looks like that this one may take a more southerly track like the models were showing us last week. This could be the one right here. We have a hurricane force low developing out here in the North Pacific. This is going to help create a west-northwest groundswell, 15 to 18 seconds with a little touch of 20-second ground periods heading for the west coast of the United States over the next 3 to 4 days. And then looking further west out here towards Japan, there is a new 980 millibar low forecast to develop. West-northwest winds 40-45 knots with seas increasing in excess of 25 to 30 feet. And this other hurricane force low out here in the central North Pacific forecast to also produce seas in excess of 30 feet in west-northwest swell. So there's two leading edges, 18 to 20 second front runners here with this swell, and then another period of 15 to 18 seconds west-northwest swell developing. We'll show you that here when we switch over to the loop. And as you can see, this is starting to wrap up, move off towards the east and the central Pacific. Hurricane force low forecast to develop. Seas with that, again, excess of 30 feet. And then I'm going to slide this over now, because here's where this next area of low pressure is going to be moving off the coast over the next 3 to 4 days. And in the 96-hour surface forecast, Ocean Prediction Center showing a 980 millibar low moving off the coast with a west-northwest fetch wraparound. So we'll be watching for that, but it looks like a massive swell heading for the west coast of the United States. Here it is into motion now. We'll start you back with that area of low pressure off the northeast states. As you can see, it's starting to spin off towards the east now. And then again, here is that one that's over the central U.S. that's going to lift into the northwest Atlantic over the next 3 to 4 days, enhancing some west-northwest fetch that this other area of low pressure is now creating in here. Again, here is that area of low pressure that's off the California coast that looks like could be the seed for the major swell event. We'll show you that here in the model run. Here's last night's run of the ECMWF. This is for tomorrow now, showing that area of low pressure that we showed you here is going to be here, and it's going to move off towards the east, as you can see. But let me rotate back now and look in the left-hand portion of your image. That's that low that's over the central U.S. Watch, it moves off towards the northeast, towards the northeast states and Nova Scotia, and then kind of dissipates. And then another area of low pressure moves in to the mid-Atlantic. Let me check that date for you. That is going to be next Monday, December 22nd. Now, the Euro model has been consistent on moving an area of low pressure through here during this time frame. Let me get back up in just a second here and we'll run it back. You can see that it comes in here towards the Outer Banks, moves off the coast, and then it wants to create a nice solid northeast fetch in here coming up right before Christmas. This could be Christmas Swell 2014 for the Atlantic, and this is going to create a wraparound aiming some solid swell in here towards Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. If you saw our Facebook post about 3 days ago, we said that this was setting up initially to be a large swell event for island nations. It's unclear at the moment how big the swell will be for the U.S. East Coast, but it does show promise. We'll just have to wait and see, but as you can see, it continues to move it off towards the east and then wants to amplify it back towards the end of the run. This is 10 days out, guys, a little bit too far, but if we stick a little bit closer to home, again, we'll recap. Area of low pressure creating some north-northwest swell in here aimed at the islands. That's going to persist over the next day or so. Then this other area of low pressure moving into the northeast states and then moving off, reinforcing a little bit of that. But here comes this next big low that's off the California coast, moving off the mid-Atlantic, northeast winds, probably 35 to 40 knots right off the Outer Banks, and then moving into a little bit longer northeast fetch of 20 to 30 knot winds, maybe 30 to 40 knot winds as it starts to pull away from the coast. That's all we got for you for now, guys. Stay tuned for the next update.